Welcome back, everyone. Time for the final at the team event, Bonn World Cup. The athletes being led onto the stage, being presented to the audience. Italy on the left, reigning world champions. USA on the right, winner of all 5 World Cup events in the teams last season. Two teams very familiar with each other. Alessio Falcone, world number 1, world champion. Daniele Garozzo, Olympic champion. Giorgio Avola. And Andrea Cassara, silver medalist yesterday, former world champion. Samuel Watson, former world champion. Gerrit Meinhardt, twice a medalist at world championships. Alex Macialis, Olympic silver medalist. Racing Bowden, former world number 1. Two incredibly strong teams. Handshakes at the start before hostilities commence. And joining me in the commentary box, finally finished with his duties as Great Britain team manager for the day, Johnny Davis. Welcome to commentary.
Thank you, Sean. Very good to be here. Sorry about late. Just rush and get a quick cup of tea, revive the spirits.
Well, I've been advising our viewers to go and get themselves a cuppa during the breaks. So
yeah, no, definitely.
Glad to see you joining them.
Absolutely revive the spirits. German tea is working today.
Good stuff. So, what are your thoughts before the start of the match?
Yeah, I think it's fantastic to see this this battle renewed again. There's a kind of resilience and determination both of these teams, and it's always really hard to call. The Americans haven't had a great weekend, but the sum of the parts is always very, very strong. And then you look at that Italian lineup and you just don't really see any weakness.
Yep.
It's a really hard one to call. It really is.
Alex Macialis getting the Americans off to a start.
Yeah, they must know each other so well. They defend each other so often. They're on to 3 or 4 levels of thought process as to what the actions are.
Yeah, indeed.
I think the general consensus this weekend is that the Americans are very much focused on getting this 4 ready for Tokyo, make sure they qualify.
Yeah, it's a well-established team for America. It's been, I think since 2011, these 4 have been in place.
I think Aitken getting a result yesterday, obviously, throws a few question marks, but the sense everyone is speaking back is that it's really about getting these 4, keeping them together.
Yeah.
And the individual rankings in the world is actually not that important, so it almost looked like they weren't that fussed yesterday. Change as well in Bowden now with Cerioni. He's moved from Golubitsky to Cerioni.
Coaching move there.
Yeah, so that would be an interesting dynamic.
Does seem kind of odd to see Cerioni in the USA team box.
That will be interesting listening to some of those conversations. Beautiful move. Macialis has this really loose free arm and he just pulls out hits and tempos that you can't really teach anybody.
Yeah.
He just has this innate ability to find that moment.
Sharp defensive work from Avola there.
He works for those moments, doesn't he? They're very simple. They look so simple, but there's a lot of footwork into getting to that position.
Yeah, a lot of setup for the hit.
Yeah. Again, beautiful. The Italians have that extra sort of half step they seem to control, where they're just a little bit closer, both on the attack and the defence when they make the move.
Yeah, Avola has fantastic footwork, moves really well. Lots of variation in the steps to keep his opponent guessing.
He does, and it's so precise. You know, if you look how small the steps are, but yet they're relaxed. Beautiful. Again, the balance there, 2-3 moves.
Yeah, still ready to spot the moment for the remise when Asias is looking for the blade.
So without talking about the conversation, you've got to work with the other fencer. You're not just working against them, you have to work with them to pick up the tempo. So you maybe give the blade to go second intention, third intention. But that takes a lot of confidence. Experience on the piece too. You look at Avoga, he's been at the top for how many years? I'm not quite sure, but it's a lot.
I think his first year in the Italian team was about 2011 when he won the European Championships.
That's right, in Sheffield. Yeah, he certainly that related 1, 2, 3 and won the table. That's what they do well. They very rarely miss. You very rarely see an Italian not have a light of some sort. So from 3-0 down, was it, to 4-all?
Yep, good comeback. You certainly don't want to, even while it's the first leg of the match, you don't want to give away a big deficit right at the start.
I think that's the key. Really, is the first 3 fights. People talk about the end of the match, but the first 3 fights are so key. If you let the other team get away, then it changes tactics, changes the mood, people's nervousness, what they try. Beautiful, beautiful. There's that half step. He just lets him come. Yep. And rather than taking a full step back, he's able to just catch him with that half step. Again, looks so simple, but it's classic Italian. Today was an interesting day in the team. There was some with the Germans overcoming the Russians.
Yeah, big shot, great performance from them.
It was great, yeah. And then we had the Russians, we lost in the last hit. And then they went on and they demolished the Poles afterwards. But in terms of the qualifying, then France will now, having moved into the last 4 in Korea, dropping back, will be some change in the points in terms of the Olympic qualification.
Yeah, which starts in March or April.
Yeah. But everyone's already jockeying for position.
Yeah, of course, you don't want to find yourself too far down when that
well, the draw that you get in these competitions is based on your current world ranking, so you obviously want that to keep improving and stay strong. Jamie Watson, the classic behind the side that comes, hits from between the legs around the back.
Yeah, plenty of options when he gets in close for a big guy. He finds a lot of different ways to make the hit.
Got to be dexterous and flamboyant in what hits he can deliver.
A bit of a return to form for him yesterday as well, making a last 8.
Yeah,
didn't have a great season last year.
No, he looked good yesterday. I would say that there's a certain pressure on him to perform yesterday, in that as we're talking earlier about being in the 4, I think that he's the one who is consistently performs less well than individual, but is an absolute fantastic team fencer. So I would say that probably was consciously or subconsciously a reaction to having to get a result. With it came in there as well, it'll keep the pressure on.
Yeah.
Very few teams will make a change in Olympic year.
Exactly.
So,
they want to have it in place and
you want to
running
know
it regularly.
Yeah, you want to know that you have. So this year there may be a few changes, people trying things, but up until March, and then that'll be it set for most teams.
That was the suggestion from our co-commentator of the semi-final, Dimitri Region, saying that no Pesci in the French team.
No Jopic in the German team.
I believe that Jopic actually wasn't well.
Ah, okay.
The reason that he wasn't fencing. So although he fenced in the individual, he apparently suffering a virus.
Okay. Yeah, but you're right. The Pesci not fencing. You'd think they're trying to see what that permutation is, and then he will come back in. Beautiful timing. Beautiful timing, Garozzo. At this level, the fencers they pick up the moment so well from each other. They're trying to say you're giving ground to pick up a moment to gain the control of the movement.
Yeah, I think Garozzo in particular has probably the best feel of almost anyone for the right moment to finish the action.
He's had to adapt the position of his hand a little bit because the refereeing has changed, so he's not getting as many of those. When he used to come with his foil kind of close to his shoulder, and the rules are gradually, the referees are not giving those, but he's adapted. I've been impressed since since China. He's adapted since the World Championships. That he's obviously been working his hand is much further forward. Still questionable sometimes, but much further forward, much more threatening to the target.
Random off target on the blade contact there. Can't get it to repeat, so back to it.
I think you also have a sort of cultural battle here, whereby the Italians, very similar to the soccer teams, you know, Italian soccer teams just don't concede and then build from there. Then you have the flamboyance of the American, who could be basketball or, you know, whatever, just in terms of that free flowing, free spirit. I always think you can read a lot into the nationalities and how they fence. It's sometimes the national spirit comes out in it.
It's shown in the way.
Not so much now that some of the coaches have spread around the world so much, but it used to be when we had Eastern Europe, you could really see that you could spot them a mile off in the schools of thought.
Yeah, I think as coaching has become more international, you know, coaches will move from country to country. Ideas will be sort of spread out around the world a bit more.
Yeah, there are very few. I think Italian is the pure style. It's the one that's
it's the one that's most identifiable.
It is, and everyone's tried to take some of it, but it's the one which has remained most pure and most effective, arguably, as well, given the results. Beautiful.
Nice power post from Garozzo, but also asking about Stanley Watson covering as he looks to close the distance with the remise.
We're lucky from here we can see the replay, and it gives us a very clear sight of what the referee gets to see. So that was very clear from what we can see, that the shoulder was dropped across to try and stop the riposte coming on. One of the things that's very noticeable now as well is that the fencers will continue and chase the riposte for a longer period after they make the riposte. Used to finish much more quickly.
Yeah, so that's a quite noticeable change over the last few years, that the referees will let the action run a lot longer, and the fencers have adapted that, and we'll keep scrapping until there's a light, or until the referee virtually pulls the two of them apart.
Yeah, no, and I think everyone's adapted well to it.
Nice stop hit.
Beautiful.
Stanley Watson using his full reach.
Still hard to call which way this is going to go.
Yeah, I mean, early days in the match, neither side establishing any real dominance at this stage. Nobody's had a disaster to allow a big gap to open up.
No, you're looking to see if there's just one moment where somebody can build 3 or 4 hits. Beautiful. That's where Garozzo's adapted there, that was much more a classic attack with a point leading, as opposed to the arm back.
Yes, even a year ago, his hand would have been much further away from the target, probably a little slower.
It does. It also, what's interesting, it then sets for those fencers who are used to fencing him, who are used to picking up a moment. So everyone spent 2 or 3 years trying to pick up a moment when he has his arm back, and the like of that one, Stanley Watson probably went at the right time for the old Garozzo.
The old version of the
Garozzo.
Garozzo
Now we've
attack,
got the new Garozzo, and they're kind of going, all right, well that would have worked 6 months ago, but it now does. So that's, again, fantastic evolution.
So a 3-hit gap after the first couple of legs. And interesting that the starters for the USA include Gerrit Meinhardt, who most of last season was warming the bench for the USA team.
Yeah, I think, was he finishing his studies last year? Is that what it was? I think there was some reason that he had stepped back a little bit from training.
Right.
But again, with the understanding, I think, that get that out of the way, and then over the 2 years run into the Olympics. So there's, I think they manage them very well. They manage the athletes very well. Beautiful tackle for Cody. He's the master technician of distance to me. He's able to get just minute steps forward, and that attack comes so quickly, and the flick to shoulder as well.
Yeah, he uses the flick to shoulder really effective. I mean, it is still a valuable hit in the fencer's armour, but he's probably the one that produces it most reliably.
He does, yeah, and he gets himself in a position where he lifts his hand to be able to finish it. But he very rarely loses what I call the elastic between him and the other fencers. Well, even if he's in defence, he's still holding pressure against the other fencer. He doesn't let them a gap open that he has to regain.
Yeah, it doesn't give them a sort of free run at setting up their attack.
Which means it's very difficult to pick up the momentum and the tempo then, if you have somebody sticking to you. So my memory of fencing the Italians was that they were always there. They were always just in front of you. You could very rarely get a bit of freedom from them.
Yeah. And as you say, with the huge history of Italian fencing, you can see the modern version of it as a development of what's gone before.
Yeah, and they're physically very, very strong. You look at the Coney's legs. I watched him do a footwork session, and just so powerful, so powerful.
To some degree, he's a late arrival in the Italian team. I think he's about 28 or 29, and it was only after the Olympics that he had a real big result, I think, winning the Grand Prix in Turin, home Grand Prix, and then 2 years on he's world champion, world number 1.
Yeah. Richard Cruz 4 points behind. We thought last night maybe Richard had gained that, but we have Paris to come, so fingers crossed.
And Facconi, of course, defending quite a lot of points there, so he won it last year.
He won Paris last year.
So exciting times for British fencing. Richard racking up the wins over the last couple of years.
He was absolutely, whatever way you view it last night, was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. This is a big hit with a 4-hit lead. If Facconi can get this, then that really puts pressure on the Americans. There we go. Okay. So from here now, he has a lot of space and time to play with.
The question is, push on now, keep pressurising Meinhardt, looking to continue to land with those attacks.
Well, that's why I would say, as we were talking earlier, he just keeps pressure on, whether he's going backwards or forwards. What he'll do is he'll keep the distance tight to stop Meinhardt, negate anything Meinhardt does. Beautiful.
It's a nice, lovely timing, yes. Spotting that moment where Meinhardt's having a bit of a think about it and the attack's in.
Lovely. I've just been handed 50 euros by James Davis, and I wondered why that was, but I did buy something for him. So there's nothing going on there, folks, in case you wondered.
no bribes. He's not concerned enough about his place in the team to offer you cash.
Absolutely not. Even as Jay Davis and Jay Davis, does anybody need to check that there's no insider dealing going on? I did live for about 2 years claiming I'd come back after I'd retired and was starting to win competitions when James Davis Jr., no relation, but that wasn't going to last long.
Yeah, people saw through it reasonably quickly.
They did, yeah. Okay, so Chumley Watson has a big task here.
Over a accidental pinning in the hand from Avola.
I think this is where you see what we were talking earlier about in comparison, or comparing it with the Italian soccer teams, just grinding out results in terms of what they're doing is classic and very, very special the way they fence, but it's just consistent. It's disciplined, consistent. It's so few off-target lights.
Yeah.
It really is. It's so precise. And you look at them, you know they have a game plan. There's a very clear plan of what they're doing individually and collectively.
I think that's the thing that distinguishes the very top fencers. It's not a technical thing. It's how smart they are.
It's cerebral. I was chatting with Richard Cruz at dinner last night after the fight, and he said how he was chatting with Cassar after the final, and how they were essentially saying they love fencing each other because like a game of chess.
Yeah.
And you could see it when they're fencing. It's a level above. It's not physical for them. They're physically fit, strong, move, incredible athletes, but they've moved to a level where they're second, third intention, and it almost becomes some sort of a trading game.
Yeah.
And it's a cerebral level that most fencers never get to. Okay.
So moment's hesitation there from Loewe.
Yeah, Chamley Watson has to find gaps here somewhere. The bowler's just holding his distance. I'll wait for an opportunity. Beautiful, yeah. So that's just slight steps backwards forward, and he throws in maybe a smaller step as he sees that draws the attack, and he's just that half step closer to make the power riposte. Chamley Watson has all the work to do here. And this is when the Italians are in this position. They're so consistent, and they're what they naturally do, the default position and mechanism in terms of the moves they execute. And their discipline is it's very, very hard to break it down. You have to come up with a real answer against it.
Yeah.
They don't really deviate from the script.
I felt a little bit that cost them last year when the USA men's football team were dominant, winning all the World Cups. That Italy had their plan A, and when that didn't work, they struggled to adapt a little.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. Actually, I think that they are so disciplined in what they do that if a fencer does crack it as to how to get through it, there really isn't a plan B.
Because plan A is so successful.
Absolutely right. Yeah, and you can just see sometimes that whenever somebody gets the timing and then they don't have an answer, but it very rarely happens. Chamley Watson's now trying to set this up to go very early, and Avila is going to question it. And yeah, it looks like Chamley Watson was correct. Yeah, he just moved slightly earlier. Again,
I think if Loewe was looking for something that actually wasn't there, there was no hesitation, there was no pause. It was just.
I think in his mind he's just trying to go for doubles, and actually Chamley Watson has as we're alluding to, he's come up with a slightly different timing on that one, and he got definitely by that review we just saw, he did move faster there, or move earlier. It's been a strong competition this year, it really has. With 237, I think, in the individual.
Yeah, big numbers.
Big, strong competition. And it will rack up until the end of the qualifying period for Tokyo. Very nice.
Yeah, nobody's taking any competitions off now.
Well, they'll be all the way through. So you want to get yourself into position for the qualifying period. You want to make sure you're in the 16, you're high up the rankings, and then qualifying period. And then after that, people take a break. Giving him the line to try and give him a problem to stop him building his momentum. So Chamley Watson's going to have to come off the blade at some stage. Beautiful. Very nice.
There's no rush from Chamley Watson when the line does come out, though. He's quite happy to have several goes of it, knowing they'll get it eventually.
Yeah. As long as he just makes some slight contact with it as he did to close there. So this is where Chamley Watson's so valuable to his team. He really is. He just seems to step up a gear.
Yeah, he's a proper impact fencer.
Yeah, he really is. Yeah, he really is. And he's such a confident individual that I think that just seeps through the team.
Yeah, he doesn't seem racked by doubt at any point, does he?
I think that is an understatement. I shouldn't think he's a man who goes home and has too many things that worry him at night. terms of profile within the sport, he is one of the world superstars. Somebody saying that they went to one of the Nike shops and there was the massive big banner of Chamley Watson outside the building, somewhere in New York, I think it was.
Yeah.
Which is great for the sport, absolutely fantastic. And obviously his relationship with Red Bull as well. They have a couple of fencers now, Chupinich is another.
Yeah.
And I think that can only be good for the sport.
Yeah, having these kind of big brands picking up fencers to represent them.
Beautiful. He's setting Avila up here, getting him on his preparation. And this is almost what we talked about. Avila doesn't really have an answer now.
Yes,
because
he come up with a change.
Yeah, he doesn't really have a change here. Chamley Watson's kind of cracked the timing on this one.
Yeah. This is where I thought it was interesting at the World Championships final, where Avila was missing, having sprained his ankle, I think, in the semi-final, and Casara came in because previously Vaud had a properly hard time with Miles Chamley Watson before, and that to some degree looked like
quite fortuitous, almost bit of work, yeah. Yes, he's picked that up nicely. He's lovely. Takes the blade, hits the shoulder. So they're going to just call it quits at that. 17-14. That was pretty impressive from Chamley Watson.
Yeah, a good leg.
And a good man to hand over with Marcialis. And they're now making a change. So they're going to bring Bowden in. Meinhardt and Bowden making a change. So Grayson Bowden is going to come in, facing Garrick Meinhardt. Bowden, I thought, was fencing well yesterday. He just didn't really close out the fight, but he be interested to see with the new coach whether that has any impact. But certainly with Cerioni, he should have given him some insight, more insight into the Italian way, which can obviously help when you go to defence Italian fencing.
Yeah, indeed.
I think he had 10 days in Italy prior to coming here, and Cerioni told me he's spending 10 days with him in California in a block, and with also I think he's working with Grayson Bowden's girlfriend, French fencer. That's the one. Yeah. I think part of that equation is Zomborelli, the conditioning coach who works with Cerioni.
Yeah, they come as a team. Really,
yeah, they do.
Cerioni is obviously the name that we recognise as
absolutely.
The champion. But the work that he does is thoroughly supplemented by his conditioning coach that comes with him.
But really, it's an opportunity for Cerioni. He hasn't really been on the scene for a couple of years since.
Yeah, that's right. Since he left
and there's an argument to say he's almost nearly priced himself out of the market, or he just is there someone who will employ him. It's a weird dynamic. So I think it's a really important opportunity for him to come back with him, Bowden.
Yeah. Good to see him back, actually.
Oh, it's great. Yeah,
missed him.
Absolutely missed the Olympic champion. He has faults, as we all have, but in terms of the impact on the sport, it is good to see him back. Beautiful.
That flick hit that we were talking about earlier there from Coney.
Yeah, he just executes it so simply. He gets it very, very late and gets it high.
Yeah.
But then from the elevation, it comes down really quickly. He doesn't have to lift it and drop it. It just is almost like a beat.
Yeah, the point's almost ready.
Yeah. It's like a beat parry down. Yeah, it's effective, really effective. So Marcialis set that attack up, but off target.
Now this was a match-up in the final of the World Championships, which I felt proved to be decisive for Italy winning. Coney beat Marcialis, I think it was 5-1 in that leg, and opened up a big gap that the Americans could never recover from.
But even psychologically, these would be the two, arguably you would say, the two key solid fencers who you expect to get their hits. If you can crack one of those, the other's more variable with the others. But then you look at the Italian bench with Casara sitting there, you kind of go, well, maybe if they need a bit of help, they have somebody who's well able to do that.
Yeah, someone, a good option to turn to.
He fenced beautifully yesterday.
He did, really, yeah.
For somebody who's been, with his the years he has been at it and his success. It's fantastic to see the motivation to still keep going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so he went for the shoulder there. That one, I think Marcialis was able to just drop his shoulder to stop him getting that hit. Beautiful.
Yeah, we have it again.
Yeah. Happy to let the attack come and wait till the very last minute. Marcialis is looking for the half moment there as he comes forward.
Yeah, trying to pick that tiny moment of hesitation from Facconi.
Yeah, let's put that through.
Just sneaks the attack through.
Marcialis is deceptively long. His reach is deceptively long. You actually, he's a tall individual, and the reach he has.
Yeah, with his on guard position, his arms a long way back, so when it does come forward,
yes,
it feels like it's coming from miles away.
That's right, it does. No, it is. You really, I've seen a lot of people get very surprised by how if you take it, say, from he extends his arm, there's a long reach there. There's that late disengage as well. Beautiful. Second counter riposte. So now 21-18 to Italy. Americans have pulled back that deficit.
Yeah, it's still a lead, but not at this stage by any means a decisive one. Yeah, the Americans will be pleased to get the Italians sort of within touching distance at this point in the match.
Certainly to get let's see where we end at the end of fight 5. But Marcialis had it right away there, but he missed. Once again, the Italians very rarely miss an opportunity.
It does make for a lot of free or cheap hits.
Yeah, no, well they just if I haven't done it, but if one was to add up the number of off targets they get, there are very few off targets, very few. It's just that their efficiency ratio is very high.
So Marcialis calling for the video review and no change to the decision.
Now the Italians open a little bit of a lead again, 23-18. It's quite a statement of intent, I think, for, as you see, with the Americans being so dominant last year. I think for the Italians, if they can win this at the start of the season, make a big statement.
Yeah, I agree, because there was times last year when the USA just had some proper heavy meetings to the Italian team, where the Italians were just a little bit forlorn.
They did, yeah, and they didn't look like they had an answer. They didn't look like an answer to what was happening to them. Again, that Marcialis comes with that arm so far back, but he manages to coordinate between his front foot and the release of his arm, that the arm then is out in front of the leg.
Yeah, it's a very distinctive attack that he has, and see a few people trying to copy it.
Yeah, not many do it as well as he does, because he does it from a position of balance, and he's able to control the legs and then just release the leg at the last minute to go. It's almost broken time, but not quite.
Yeah, never quite enough, but it's tempting to think that it's there, to throw yourself into the counter attack and find him finishing.
Produces those little half steps which give him the momentum, like so again. The half steps draw the opponent in, and he's able to control. I think sometimes he almost decelerates at the end, as opposed to accelerating. So if the opponent is coming towards him, he's not going to go. Points not go past him.
Yes, no rush in the finish, just sort of precision and having time to pick where the open target is.
And he comes in on a low line as well quite often, so he's avoiding the blade. Beautiful. Again, the half step starts. So now we're 22-24 for Facconi. Having to come up with an answer here.
Yeah, at one point having stretched the lead out to 5. Marcialis on a bit of a roll in the second half of this leg. And there's another to take it down to a 1-point game.
Coney buying himself a little bit of time,
yep.
changing his foil, needs to collect his thoughts.
Yeah, pretty certain there's nothing wrong with that foil, but he's decided that he needs to go and find another one.
Yeah, I think so. I suspect that one will be used in training next week, but for the moment, this is perfectly set up for Bowden to become the star here, to come back in. If he was to take over a leading position or a position close by, if he could suddenly bring something different to this.
I think the starting role is one that he's quite comfortable.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
In.
So I say there must be a big challenge of where the egos get placed in the airline luggage when the Americans are flying.
It always strikes me, the American team always seem like they are genuine friends with each other.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're very well bonded together. They've been with each other for years. Beautiful. Tomasi Alice, there we are. It's a really impactful period he had, that fifth period.
Yeah, that certainly is. That's
so from
probably swung the momentum in favour of the Americans. It's only a 1 point gap, but that run of hits at the...
Yeah, it was a 5-hit deficit at one stage the Italians had a 5-hit lead. They now are 1 down, so that was pretty seismic shift.
Yep.
Now we'll see this in Bowden against Grozzo.
These are usually pretty entertaining matches.
They
do seem to wind each other up something terrible. So
yeah,
expect a bit of fireworks potentially.
So this one was made for Hollywood. What I love about Bowden is when he makes a move and there's any question, he immediately explains out loud what the move was.
It's just
to the referee, just in case the referee doesn't understand.
That's right, just trying to help.
And then it's like, of course it's my hit. It's well practiced. He's trying to stop Grozzo getting any momentum here and then set it up for that counter-attack on Grozzo's preparation. Just keep the distance. So Bowden keeping the distance really tight, almost doing what the Italians do to everyone else.
Yeah.
Not letting develop anything, keeping constant pressure. Like so, yeah.
Doesn't land on the first one, I don't think, but Grozzo off balance and Bowden able to put on the immediate remise.
It's a very nice hit. Beautiful. Suddenly it swings the other way with the Americans now 2-hit lead. And Bowden looking like he's on his game, as they say.
Yeah.
Very simple actions.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for hugely complex fencing,
beautiful.
Probably this is not the place to look for it.
No,
well, it's set up by perfect timing, fantastic footwork.
Yeah.
But the final action is generally very simple.
It is, but I think when we get to this level, you go through. So from the 2 days of competition, you see a lot more complex, a lot more stuff that probably fencers don't need to do in the earlier rounds, and then when you get to the top, that quality percolates up. And as I was saying with Richard Cruz and Castro yesterday, it's almost third intention, but very, very simple actions.
Yes. There's
no rushing, there's nothing complex. They seem to, it's like they're driving a car and they can just see absolutely everything in slow motion in front of them. And then Bowden here is on a second intention. He knows exactly what he's trying to get Grozzo to do to execute the action.
Interesting to see the variety of approaches from the fencers to how they question the referee or ask for a video review. It's the Grozzo approach here, which is the look of sort of genuine disbelief that the referee could possibly think.
How could you not think it was an Italian? Yeah, that's where I love you can see the national characteristic if we're being cliched about it coming out. It's just wonderful. You see, to me, it's about the control on the piece. Who just fighting for the control. We sometimes forget fencing is a combat sport, and there's ultimately a battle and a fight going on. And this is just fighting for territory. And again, the top fencers control the piece.
Yeah,
they control it's their domain. They come on. You see Richard Cruz move. And wherever he decides, whether at the top, the front, the back, the middle, he knows exactly where he is on that strip. He knows every single centimetre.
Slip off the edge of the piece there from Garotz, and scraped his knee on the way, and scraped his shin on the way down.
He already had a cut on one of his shins from before, I think. And he caught the edge of the piece, so the piece is metallic, so unfortunately the edge of it, which should be covered, is sometimes quite rough.
Yeah, certainly not a pleasant surface to bounce your shin off.
So also, I think it is quite questionable in some way that you put athletes on a raised piste when they're moving at such speed.
Yeah, I mean, there are some inherent risks. It does look nice.
It looks lovely. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah,
but if you're up there on it, that fear of injuring yourself by potentially falling off is real, I think.
There was a great moment yesterday in the final when Kassar, the hit was given against him because he had gone off the piste, the referee said. But he challenged it, and his challenge was that he had his foot on the piste and the other foot that was off the piste wasn't on the ground.
Yeah.
Because he was on a raised piste, and he won the challenge.
Just, yeah.
So fantastic. And he said, but my foot was not on the ground. And actually, you have to go, correct, sir. And he overturned the hit. It did cause a
hint of a technicality about it, but
yeah, he's correct.
He is right.
Yeah. Okay, here we have. Okay, I think this is what you're referring to now in terms of how the fencers claim the hits. Okay, so this is fantastic. This is great entertainment. So Bowden giving his statement.
Yep.
Ferrazzo and all the Italians to our left giving their statement. And each is 100% correct as far as they believe.
Yes, yeah, no doubt on either side.
And in fact, neither of them got it when the referee reviewed.
Back to where we were.
The narrative is great.
Yeah, this is the kind of stuff that I was talking about. I've seen these two before.
Yeah, no, it's great. It is. It's
You don't necessarily want a whole match of the two teams having a go at each other like this, but just a little bit of this in the middle of it.
Yeah, I think that was unintentional. I think that was, and again, it's what I love about the sport is that everyone plays hard, but there is always respect for the opponent and a handshake and something like that. You know, and Bowden will offer a hand check that he's up and he's okay. It's a very important life lesson within the sport. Beautiful. And Bowden, second intention, draws him in, steps in, closes him out. But set it up perfectly. Again, knowing what Garotz was likely to do on that condition. Bowden trying to do the same thing again. He's just hanging his point out there, tempting Garotz to go to make the attack. It also gives him the option, if he wants to go for the power riposte second intention.
Yeah, so the blade's out there ready for it. Garotz as a blade emerges into range.
It's a very close distance. It's in Bowden's game. Beautiful.
Great finish.
Right. Wonderful in Bowden. Small steps, controlled, almost out Italianing the Italians, and able to finish. And Bowden can fence at distance. He can fence with great movement. So that may be the fight that we were talking about. Fight that changes the game.
Yeah, I think maybe. I mean, that's the 5-hit lead that Italy had earlier. Feels quite different to the 5-hit lead that the USA have now. Kind of 3 fights on.
It does, yeah. It's a different dynamic. The Americans feel like they're really pulling away now, whereas the Italians they had a lead, but they were constantly having to defend it. But if that proves to be the decisive fight, great team management from Greg Macialis once again. Knowing when to make the change.
Absolutely.
Knowing his fencer. So Chamley Watson can probably be a little bit more flamboyant now, and we can see some of his. He could be probably a little bit more, take a few more risks, a little bit more relaxed.
see if Facconi puts 2 or 3 on him.
Yep.
It might put him back into the shell. Still plenty of possibilities from here.
Well, Facconi just have to work really hard to get into his distance and not get caught as he comes forward. That's exactly what he looks. That's exactly the game. So Facconi's got to get close to him. Chamley Watson can hold him off, try and catch him as he comes forward, or go for the power riposte.
Chamley Watson's defensive strategy is kind of interesting mixture of things, of the kind of sweeping collection of blades that it's difficult to get past, and then regularly using the line as well to slow things up.
Yes, well, that's a perfect example there. He's disturbing the blade. Now as Facconi's looking for it, then because often he gives the line off of it.
Yeah.
Perfect, exactly as you were saying. He's good at disrupting his opponent, both psychologically and physically.
Yeah, I think a lot of fencers can be, well, subconsciously, I think, mostly intimidated by just such a big presence on the piece.
Yeah, I think so, absolutely. And the Americans, they trade on that very much.
Yeah.
There's 2 battles. There's the actual physical battle of the fencing, but there's containing their character. It's nice. So Facconi's now having to draw it in and step in, to let him develop the attack, let Chamley Watson develop the attack and find the moment to step in. Once again, Chamley Watson trying to set that up, didn't quite get the time. If Facconi was able to finish over the off target.
Just a little late. Again, that use of a line that's sort of barely really a line, but the fact that it forces your opponent to do something with it.
I always think that one of the real benefits of the line is to buy you time, buy you distance.
Yeah.
If you get the hit off it as somebody comes onto it. So there again, using it, giving them the blade, going for second intention, power riposte.
Yes,
so on a counter time.
For all the flamboyance of Miles Chamley Watson's fencing and all the sort of slightly showboaty hits that he scores, the kind of heart of it is really
very disciplined,
technically solid and well put together.
I think you can really, you see it with a lot of great sports people, you can be flamboyant once you've done the art. It's only, you can't be flamboyant if your footwork's not good enough.
It's not the starting point, is it?
No. Yeah. You add that once you have done the art. So I think for any young fencer, don't ever think these guys haven't put in the hours and the sweat and the toil.
Well, certainly my own club, after he scored his through the legs hit at the previous World Championships, which was kind of everywhere, something my club was full of little kids.
Yeah.
trying to do this hit.
Yeah, they certainly, which is great. It inspires them, but they need to understand that he's perfectly balanced and positioned to be able to make that hit, and he can equally do a beat direct.
Yes.
The Americans are also quite like the Italians. That they lean on the front foot a lot more than a lot of nations.
Yeah, that's.
They work off the front leg a lot more than say quite a few of the other nations in fencing, and that gives them the ability to break up distance in the same way as they break up the timing in the same way as the Italians do. It's very nice technical fencing. Again, that's Facconi giving the blade to be able to pick it up to make the riposte. Okay, so she gave the momentum to Chamley Watson, being challenged by Facconi. What I'm looking at, I think, just watching the screen, no, they've accepted it, and looking at the replay, it was correct.
Yeah, Facconi taking that half step back before going, but while he's on the way back, Miles starts an attack.
He did. He's starting that little half step at the front, which some referees are drawn to the front foot movement. Beautiful on preparation. Yeah, some of the referees seem to be drawn by the front foot start, and some of them are drawn by the hand start.
Yeah.
And it's we had this today with a couple of referees trying to work out which one they're doing.
Yeah, what's the trigger for them?
Yeah. But that was again an important period. So 35-29 now to America. I suspect that Bonn will try and employ the same tactics here, just keeping it tight.
Yep, I would think so. So at the stage with this being the second last leg, 6-hit gap. It's not enormous.
No. But he doesn't have.
Will feel that he's going to have to close the gap at least
he will
3
absolutely.
hits.
Yeah, the pressure is all on the Italians. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what's great about this sport is whenever you apply the pressure to your opponent, they make mistakes, and you can then that's where you just capitalise off them. So Bowden is just keeping this pressure every which way, either backwards or forwards. He's just not letting Loewe have any momentum here. Hope for an opportunity. Like so. So let him come.
Perfect example.
Yeah. Give him something to work off and know what you're going to do. I think the basis of it, if you have process, as we're talking about, footwork, if you have a due process and you can just continue to do that and then you create the moment. Process is what you do in training.
Yeah.
Your lessons, you just repeat the actions, and they become second nature. You don't really have time to think about it.
Yeah, you're not thinking about those at all anymore. It's just
it's too fast.
You know that they work, and it's just when you apply them now.
That's right. And certainly, you did. I remember a number of times getting hits and not really knowing what I'd done, but it's something I'd done 1,000 times in training, parapost or whatever, and that's when you know that it's embedded in your thought process, then making sure that everything else is solid, your footwork and your conditioning, to be able to get the right moment to execute it.
And that pressure from Bowden paying off here, stretching that lead out to 9 hits now. That's a big lead.
Big, which poses a huge. If they get to 40, then it poses a huge problem for the Italians. Ravel is having to gamble here a little bit, and he's playing into exactly what Bowden wants him to do. I think this highlights what you were saying earlier as well about Plan B.
Yes.
Since the shift,
in the middle
the Italians are doing what they're doing, and I think Chamley Watson started a bit of a change, and then Bowden certainly very much escalated that, and the Italians seem to be struggling to come up with an answer. Bowden needs a drink. Of course he needs a drink.
That's right. He's been made to wait while Loewe goes and changes his foil, so now that Loewe is back in the piece with his new foil, Reece needs a drink.
If you can
fair.
Make me wait, I can make you wait.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So 10 hits difference. Beautiful. So simple.
Yeah.
Again, setting it up. So Bowden really has been huge impact since he's come on.
Yeah, he certainly has. I think he's probably been the decisive factor in the match, really. Some more great captaincy from Greg Maciel.
It is, absolutely.
Right time to do it.
Yeah, knowing his fences, knowing the dynamic of the team.
So we've got our 2 finishers. A repeat of the Olympic final.
Yep.
Daniele Garozzo, the Olympic champion, looking at an 11-hit deficit though against Alex Macialis.
Once again, Italian starts, attack, Macialis closes him out. Very simple, very, very simple. No rushing around, no panic. Very clinical.
Yeah, spot the moment, and there's the hit.
Yeah, again on the front leg, so front leg's giving him the balance, arms back, but he's still going to come through with it. Because his front leg so far out, he's almost on a half lunge, and then he just does this what looks like a little short lunge to finish. But it's deceptive because he's much closer than you think.
Yeah, that's right, with the front foot being so far forward, and the on-guard position for the arm being so far back, you combine that, it looks like a little lunge, but it goes a long, long way, because he's almost on you already.
He is, he's halfway to the target. It's very clever. And again, go together. So the foil that Grozzo changed, he wants to change again. I think Marcialis is saying that he thought he did hit him. There are some questions asked about really fast hits. They call bounce hits.
Yeah, bounce outs.
Yeah, bounce outs. Yeah, that seems to be. Yeah, and it's disconcerting when you see it, because you see.
Yeah, absolutely.
You see
surely that's it.
Yeah, you see the mark. You see the jacket. There's clearly there's a mark on the jacket, but it doesn't register. Beautiful control from Grozzo. To be able to move at that speed down the piece over a short distance, be able to then contain himself and execute. Classic beat lunge.
Yeah, it was good work, because he doesn't want to give Marcialis the chance to break that distance and get the two together, and just the one line this time for Grozzo.
So maybe he's going to get a little bit of momentum here. Still 10 hits difference.
It's a big gap, but they're going at it at a fair pace. If you can get a run of hits,
yeah, two and a half minutes. Yeah, 2.5 minutes to do it. This is where Marcialis, what does he do? Does he just fence as normal? Does he have a game plan to draw him in for counter action? I suspect that's what he's doing. Okay, they seem to be agreeing that the hits actually from Grozzo's side aren't registering.
Grozzo going for another foil change?
He seems to be more concerned with his hair at the minute. Yeah, it is disconcerting when that happens, because you question what you're doing, but you got to just believe that that was just a one-off.
Yeah, so don't let it fester.
Yeah, it can unsettle you very much. Marcialis just keeping that pressure on to try and stopping Grozzo doing what he wants to do.
Yeah, not giving him any cheap hits. If Grozzo's going to go score the points, he's going to have to work real hard to get them.
It's just pressure, controlled pressure, and there you go. Okay.
Nice indirect riposte.
So he forces Grozzo into an action. Yeah, forces him into an action and knows what he. Then that's where the process comes in. I've done this a million times. You give me a blade, I'll do a big disengage. Crossed. Thank you very much. Yeah, fantastic dynamic. If you look at the way this has turned in the Americans' favour.
Yeah,
very impressive.
I've really seized it.
Very calm, very methodical. A little bit of flamboyance comes in with Bowden and Chamley Watson. There we go.
There we have it.
Fantastic. A little bit of a messy end, but again, Marcialis in control.
Yeah.
So that's impressive start. The Americans back on top. I think halfway through that fight, or that match, we thought, you know what, maybe this isn't going to be so this time. But that team will be very hard to stop, I think, between now and Tokyo and in Tokyo.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, that continue their run of World Cup wins, and in the end, a pretty decisive victory at 45-32, which halfway through the match didn't feel like that at all.
I wouldn't have put your house on it, or my house. And they, of course, they're going for Paris. Was that 5 in a row in Paris? I think, is it? They've won the team event in the CIP the last 4 years.
Oh, really? I'm not sure about that.
They've either 3 or 4, but they're on a real roll with that one. So it'll be interesting to see that's next competition. See if they can repeat that. They amaze me as well what they do. They fly in, and they only fly in the day before the competition. And normally you'd think 2 days of individual or 1 day of individual, depending on where they enter the competition. And usually by day 3, you think jet lag will be starting to take. But it just doesn't seem to be an issue. Yeah. It's incredible. I really admire that they can do that, and they just look fresh.
Yeah, it's. I mean, there's general thinking on travelling that kind of distance where you're coming to Europe, an 8 or 9 hour time difference that you would want to get.